Welcome guys, this video is about creating a database called school database in the SQL Server Management Studio, and then we are going to create some tables inside the school database. The tables name are student details, teacher details, subjects, and then the classroom. So student details contains student ID, their first name, last name, birth date, admission date, state, remarks, creation date. Similarly, the teacher's details also contains the teacher's ID, which is the primary key, and then the first name, last name, birth date, hire date, state, remarks, and then the creation date. Similarly, the subjects should have the subject's ID as the primary key, and then the subject name, teacher's ID, and then the creation date as well. And lastly, the classroom table. The classroom table would have the classroom ID as the primary key, and then it should have the student ID and subject ID and the teacher's ID as the foreign key. It is not specified here, but we should create the tables and enter this ID as a foreign key inside the classroom table. So let's go and create the database called school database at first. So to create a school database, go for the new database and then write the database called school database. So a database called school database is already created here, or if you cannot find your database, the created database, then you can just refresh on the databases and then you can have a look over this school database. So it will automatically generate the database diagrams. It will have tables, views, external resources, synonyms, programmability, service brokers, storage, and then the security. So the next task is to create tables within the database, within this school database. So the first table is student tables, second teachers details, third subjects, and the fourth is classroom. So in order to create the tables within the database, first we need to specify in which database we are going to work, because I have these databases such as AdventureWorks 2019, AdventureWorks Data Warehouse 2019, and a data analyst database as well as and the school database. So we are going to create the tables inside the school database. So for that, sorry for that, first we need to specify, and then we click on the new query. So it is generally recommended that in order to create any tables within the database, you should first specify the database on which you are going to create those tables, or on which you are going to work, or in other words say the working directory or the working database. So as you can see here, it automatically detects the database school database. However, it is recommended to use the command call or the syntax call use, and then enter the database in which you are going to create tables or do your stops. And then to create tables, now we are going to create tables. So actually these hash signs are just for the comments, so they will not work as a function. So in order to create the tables, we have a syntax called create table, and the first table is our student details. So create table, create table called student details, and then we should open and close the parentheses. So we are going to write all other those stuffs into these two parentheses. So the first thing that we're going to enter in our table is student ID, student ID. So we need to mention the type of the data. The student ID and it is generally recommended that the student ID can be only a number, so we can use integer for the number, and then it specifies that it should be set as the primary key. Okay, so it should set it as a primary key. Why primary key? To make it unique. Then second, first name, first name, which is a varchar data type of character 30. Okay, then we have last name, again varchar, and then birth underscore date. So birth date, the default data type within the SQL Server Management Studio is called date time. There are other as well, but we are generally using this data type for the birth date, hire date, admission date, creation date, and any other dates. So now we have admission date, which is again date time data types, and then we're going for the state. Okay, state, so state must be the varchar again, varchar of character again, New South Wales, Northern Territory. Okay, 30 characters. So the next one is remarks. This should be again the varchar of, okay, remarks can be of 100 characters. Then we have final creation underscore date. Okay, so creation date is again date time data type. Okay, so we're going to execute this command in order to create the tables. Okay, so once we refresh this table, database, we can see our tables. So the table called student data details has been created, and this DBA means the database owner, the database schema, or the database owner. So when you go for the GUI interface, you can see here student ID is set as a, this is a primary key, which is not null. This means it cannot be blank, it cannot be null, it cannot be without any values, it must be some numbers. And then we have first name, last name, birth date, admission date, state, remarks, and then the creation date. Okay, and then so now our next table is called teacher details. So in order to create the table called teacher details, we can just edit these things, teacher details, and then teacher's ID, teacher's ID. It should be again an integer and then a primary key. Then we have first name, last name, then we have birth date, then hire date, not the admission for the teachers, so hire date, and then again we have the state, remarks, and then the creation date. Okay, so just select this